I have cleaned empty office buildings for 9 years. I want you to understand what that means before I tell you this story. 9 years of being the only living person in a building that holds 1,000 people during the day. 9 years of riding elevators alone at midnight. 9 years of pushing a cart-down corridor so quiet you can hear the fluorescent lights humming above you. 9 years of learning every sound a building makes when nobody else is in it. I know the difference between a building settling and something else. What happened to me in the Hargrove Tower last November was something else. I still work nights. Different building now. I will explain why I left Hargrove Tower by the end of this. But I need to start at the beginning. Hargrove Tower is a 19-floor office building in the financial district. During the day it holds around 800 people across various corporate tenants, law firms, accounting offices, a few tech companies on the upper floors, standard high-rise office building, glass and steel, security desk in the lobby, cameras on every floor. My shift started at 10 p.m. every night. Security guard named Phil let me in through the service entrance. Same routine every night for 3 years. I worked my way up from the ground floor, lobby first, then floors 1 through 9. Then I took my break, then floors 10 through 19. Now by 5 a.m., floor 9 was always my last floor before break. I remember that specifically because floor 9 was where the big law firm was. Nicest floor in the building. Real wood paneling, thick carpet. The kind of office that felt expensive even when it was empty and dark. I always saved floor 9 for last before break because it was the easiest. Nice carpet means less mopping. Less mopping means I could finish faster and sit down with my coffee 10 minutes early. For 3 years, floor 9 was my favorite part of the night. Until last November. It started small. The way things like this always start. Small enough that you explain it away the first time. Small enough that you almost forget about it by the next night. The first night it happened, I was on floor 3, standard corporate office. Cubicles and conference rooms. I was mopping the main corridor when I heard footsteps. Clear, deliberate, unhurried. Coming from the floor above me. Floor 4. I stopped mopping, listened. The footsteps continued, slow and even, moving from one end of the floor to the other directly above my head. I checked my phone. 11:47 p.m. Nobody was supposed to be in this building except me and Phil at the security desk, 18 floors below. I called Phil immediately. He checked the camera feeds. Floor 4 was empty. No motion detected on any sensor. He told me it was probably the building settling. Old buildings make sounds. I've been there 3 years. I knew that. I told myself he was right. I finished floor 3 and took the elevator to floor 4. Empty, dark, exactly as it should be. I mopped floor 4 and heard nothing unusual, and by the time I was done, I had almost convinced myself. Phil was right. Almost. The following Tuesday, I was on floor 5 when I heard them again. Footsteps, same pace, same deliberate rhythm. Coming from directly above me. Floor 6. I called Phil again. He checked again. Empty again. No motion sensors triggered. No cameras showing anything. I went up to floor 6. Empty. But this time something was different. My mop bucket was on floor 6. I had left it at the elevator when I came up to check. It was sitting exactly where I left it, but it had been moved. Not far, maybe 3 feet to the left. But I know where I leave things. 9 years of the same routines. I know exactly where I put that bucket every single time. It had been moved while I was standing on that floor. I stood in that corridor for a long time. Then I finished floor 6 as fast as I have ever cleaned a floor in 9 years, and I took the elevator straight down to the lobby and sat with Phil for 20 minutes before I could go back up. Phil thought I was losing my mind. I was starting to think he might be right. The third time it happened was floor 7. Footsteps from floor 8. Phil checked. Empty. No sensors. No cameras. But this time I did not go up to check. Because while I was standing on floor 7 listening to the footsteps above me, I realized something that turned my blood completely cold. The footsteps were not random. They were following my exact route. I clean every floor the same way. Same pattern every night. 9 years of the same route. I start at the east corridor, move to the conference rooms, hit the kitchen, then the west corridor, then the bathrooms, then back to the elevator. The footsteps above me were following that exact pattern. step for step, pause for pause. Whatever was on floor 8 was not wandering. It was copying me. I called Phil, told him what I'd noticed. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "James, the cameras on floor 8 are down tonight." I said, "What do you mean down?" He said, "They went offline about 40 minutes ago." 40 minutes ago was exactly when I had started floor 7. I did not go to floor 8 that night. I told Phil I felt sick. I went home 2 hours early. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 30 minutes before I could drive. I called in sick the next 2 nights. When I came back, I told myself I was done being afraid of sounds in an empty building. I was a grown man. 9 years on the job. I had heard strange things before and they had always had explanations. I was going to finish my row. All 19 floors. No exceptions. I made it to floor 7 without incident. I made it through floor 8 without incident. No footsteps, no sounds. The cameras were back online. Phil confirmed nothing on any feed. I started to breathe normally again. Then I got to floor 9. I stepped off the elevator, hit the lights. The familiar sight of the law firm's reception area came into view. Wood paneling, thick carpet, the big oak reception desk. Everything exactly as it always was. I started my route, East Corridor first. I was halfway down the East Corridor when I stopped. At the far end of the corridor, where the corridor turns left toward the conference rooms, something was standing. Not a shape, not a shadow, not something I could explain away as a trick of the light. A figure, tall, dark, standing completely still at the end of the corridor facing me. I could not make out a face. The light did not reach that far, but I could see the outline clearly. Shoulders, arms at its sides, standing with that same deliberate stillness I had felt in those footsteps every night for a week. I did not move. It did not move. We stood there at opposite ends of that corridor for what felt like a very long time. Then my cleaning cart, sitting beside me in the corridor, moved. Not fell, not tipped, moved, rolled forward 6 inches on the carpet as if someone had pushed it gently from behind. I looked at the cart. I looked back at the end of the corridor. The figure was gone. I called Phil. My voice was not steady. I told him there was someone on floor 9. He pulled up the cameras immediately. He said, "James, I'm looking at floor 9 right now. I can see you standing in the East Corridor." I said, "What else do you see?" Long silence. He said, "Nothing, just you." I said, "Phil, look at the camera feed from 5 seconds ago. Is there anything behind me?" Another silence. Longer this time. Then Phil said something that I have not been able to stop thinking about since. He said, "James, the feed from floor 9 for the last 6 minutes is missing. Not corrupted, not frozen, missing. 6 minutes of footage simply gone from the system." 6 minutes was exactly how long I had been on floor 9. I took the elevator straight to the lobby. Told Phil I was done for the night. He didn't argue. His face when I got to the lobby told me everything. He had seen something on those cameras that he wasn't telling me. I asked him directly. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "The cameras on floors 3 through 8. Every floor you heard the footsteps on." I went back through the archived footage tonight. I said, "And?" He said, "On every floor. On the nights you heard the footsteps. In the corridor, directly above where you were working." He stopped. I said, "Phil, what was on the cameras?" He said, "A figure." Same figure every night. Standing completely still in the corridor above you. Not moving. Just standing there. I said, "Why didn't the motion sensors trigger?" He said, "That's what I can't explain. I've checked the system 3 times. The sensors were working perfectly. They should have triggered the moment anything moved on those floors." I said, "But they didn't." He said, "No, they didn't." I quit the following morning. I have not been back to Hargrove Tower since. That was 7 months ago. Last week I ran into Phil at a gas station across town. He looked like he hadn't slept properly in months. I asked him how things were at the tower. He said they'd hired 2 janitors after me. Neither of them lasted more than 2 weeks. I asked him why. He said both of them reported the same thing. Footsteps on the floor above them. Cleaning equipment moving on its own. A figure at the end of the corridor on floor 9. I asked Phil if he was still working there. He said yes. He didn't have a choice. Bills to pay. Then he said something quietly as he was getting back in his car. He said, "James, you know how floor 9 always had that law firm in it? Nicest floor in the building." I said yes. He said, "They moved out 2 months after you quit. Whole firm. Gave up their lease early. Lost their deposit." I asked why. He looked at me with the kind of look that tells you the person has been sitting on something for a very long time. He said one of their lawyers was working late one night, alone on the floor. This was before you and I even noticed anything. He said the lawyer called 911 at 2 a.m. He said the lawyer told the operator that something had followed him from his office to the elevator, floor by floor, corridor by corridor, copying his exact movements. He said by the time police arrived, the lawyer was in the lobby, shaking, couldn't speak for 20 minutes. I asked what the police found on floor 9. Phil got in his car. He said, "Nothing on floor 9. He started the engine. Then he said, "But on floor 10, directly above where the lawyer had been working." He paused. He said, "Every single door on floor 10 was open." I said, "Well, what does that mean?" He looked at me through the window. He said, "It means whatever follows people in that building doesn't stay on one floor." He drove away. I went home and sat in my kitchen for a long time. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it. It was a photo. A corridor. Dark, taken from one end, looking toward the other. At the far end of the corridor, a figure, standing completely still, facing the camera. I recognized the wood paneling immediately. I recognized the thick carpet. I recognized the oak reception desk visible through the door at the end. It was floor 9. The text beneath the photo said one thing: "It's on your floor now."